All right, I was just chatting a little bit. So for those of you viewing, welcome. This is Kurt Dolan with coasterguy.com, and we have Gregg Condon with parkjourney.com. We're here tonight. We're going to talk about, I already covered this a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Fright Fest, primarily at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but we can also talk about Fright Fest at other parks, if you guys like, and anything else that crosses your mind. So how you been, Gregg?
Good, busy.
So you were at the park this last week. Yeah, I've been super busy myself.
Yeah, we were at the park yesterday. We were at Hurricane Harbor. So then I just decided to kind of go over and do an update for Revolution and stuff, see what was going on over there, and Fright Fest. So just real quick on Revolution, nothing really this week. They did remove one of the trains, and there's a couple of walls up and a fence. I did see somebody smoking in the smoking section, so they obviously hopped the little fence there. So I would imagine a wall is coming very soon. But then,
normally I would frown on anybody hopping fences or anything like that, especially when it's in a coaster safety zone. But if they're hopping a fence to get to a designated smoking area, I'm all for that.
If they're away from me doing that, yeah, I'm right.
If it's a choice between them doing that or smoking somewhere they're not supposed to, where I'm standing around, I'm all for them being on the other side of the fence and in the smoking area.
Yeah, I was actually okay with that too. So then I also did some walk around for Fright Fest stuff. So the facade for Willoughby's is up. The Wasteland Scare Zone looks to be mostly completed. They were doing work on Aftermath. A whole bunch of lights in DC Universe. So they are actually using the lights this year for the new Scare Zone, which is called, it escapes me at the moment.
Sinister Circuit, I believe.
Where'd it go? Sinister Circuit, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're doing that. And then the Zombie Crossing. Didn't see a whole lot for Territory Twisted yet, other than some light stuff. And then nothing really for the front of the park either that I saw. And then what else was there? I think that was it. They did put up there was a sign at the Garden of Darkness, the Express Pass, Maze Pass entrance, which, you can use at our event on October 2nd. So,
but the Garden of Darkness, that's the
Willoughby's up at,
it's just the giant walk-through fern thing.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's fun, but actually I see that we actually have a question that actually relates to that already from Chris. Magic Mountain had a lot of space to work with this year, or re-themes they could have done for some mazes. Are we disappointed or surprised of no new mazes, and would you have wanted a new maze this year? Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll start first with my opinion on that one. They invested a lot of money last year, obviously, building out, Vault 666 and Red's Revenge and kind of revamping the whole Fright Fest. They put a lot of money into it, and it definitely paid off. I thought it was way better than it ever had been in the past. Yes, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't continue on that trend. I wasn't expecting them to spend the same amount of money that they spent last year, but it would have been nice to see at least one new maze. But the fact that they're putting in the lighting that they used in Holiday in the Park for Fright Fest this year, I think that's kind of cool. So I can give them props for that. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more than what I've seen so far. I think everything they're doing has already been announced. Unless they're going to pull some big surprise out at the end, which I doubt, then I wish there'd be a little bit more. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the same. I'm surprised and disappointed. I figured that they would do something with the Garden of Darkness this year to make it more than just a walkthrough of black walls. Maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe that's something that they're enhancing that we'll find out on the 26th. But I don't know. I was kind of surprised to see Chupacabra back. I think it's been 5 or 6 years for that maze now. And I mentioned yesterday we were doing Periscope, I would actually be pretty surprised if this is not its last year.
To be honest with you, speaking of that, I would be really surprised if they didn't use that space for the new Revolution.
Yeah.
They gotta use. They don't have a big enough queue as it is for how many people are going to hit that ride, at least initially, for the first however long. So I wouldn't be really surprised if they didn't snake it up through that area somehow.
But that's not one of the permanent mazes, though. So that maze does get torn down every year. So that queue is already there. So
Well, that's what I'm saying is I could see them. I mean, Fright Fest isn't going to last very long, right? Just a month. So they'll
yeah,
use Chupacabra. They'll have Chupacabra one last year. They'll strip it out, and then they'll do whatever they need to do to incorporate that area back into the queue for the new Revolution. And
yeah, I
then
can see that.
that space won't be used for Fright Fest
Yeah,
next
I
year.
mean, and I mean, the park's got plenty of room for new mazes. I mean, there's, if you just take into, the Vault 666 and Red's Revenge, I mean, there's enough room in that back part of the park for a couple more warehouses.
Yeah, totally.
There's the castle that's still back there, which obviously they will never use for maze because it's probably
I don't.
decrepit at this
Well, I
point.
don't think
But
most of that castle's been torn down. The piece
yeah,
of
but
just
they
that
can use that
turret.
space to build a new warehouse for mazes. And there's plenty of the backstage places. There's a spot on the between Scream and Colossus where the old queue and Colossus used to be that could fit a decent sized maze back there. There's the theater, which if they we'll see if the show's successful this year. And there's also, so they could also bring something back there. There's also the warehouses that they used for Lecter's slaughterhouse, which was an awful, awful maze, but they could still use it. Also, it just depends on what is announced for the park in years to come, so we'll have to just wait and see on that. So great question, Chris.
Yep, let's go ahead and close that question out. I'm going to go ahead and close out the test from Mike. Ping. Your test was successful. Did either of you guys volunteer for the commercial shoot on Thursday night? I didn't volunteer for it. The park had asked Greg and I to put out the word, which you obviously all had seen, to sign up for that. So hopefully if you submitted your application for it, you were chosen. I might show up just to take some pictures and say hi to everybody. I don't anticipate being there the whole time or to do any writing or anything like that. I'll probably just stop by and see what's going on. I think you're gonna ride, aren't you, Greg?
Yeah, I told them today that they asked what time I was going to be there, and I said I'll be there for the duration. I'm ready to go ride some Twisted Colossus for a few hours, so I'll be hanging out that night as well. So yeah. All right, so let's look at some Fright Fest for some other parks.
Actually, before we do that, let's stay on Magic Mountain for a minute. What I want to do is let's walk through the full list of everything, just to touch base with what everybody has. And I think, can I switch this?
I've got it up.
Do you? Okay, I don't know what this is going to do to my feed if I switch to a web page.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got a whole list on on the site, but I don't know if you have that.
So still learning this. I think I can share my web page. Give me 1 second here. The cameraman? Nope, it's not that. I thought there was a way I could share.
I got a screen share.
A screen share? Maybe that's it. Oh, there we go. That's it. Yeah. Let me click on this. What do you guys see?
I still see you. Froze. Oh, there we go.
Is the page up?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go through this then. It's just kind of a rundown of everything that they're doing this year. So first of all, they have a total of 17 days, right? Starting September 26th. So they're not even in October yet when they're starting these Halloween events, which is great. And then it actually runs through November 1st. Entertainment, 17 nights. Let's talk about the daytime entertainment first. So they do have some stuff for little kids, right? So it's not all about the monsters late at night. So they have Witch Hazel's Pumpkin Patch Crafts, right? So this is usually done over there in Wonderful Pistachios Park, right? They set up the tables and have kids come over and they have little pumpkin or Halloween themed crafts that they can do, if I remember right. The Looney Tunes Trick or Treat Masquerade, right? So little kids can show up actually dressed in costume. Adults cannot show up in costume, but little kids can, as long as they're not wearing anything scary or gory. But they can walk through Bugs Bunny World and trick or treat along the way. So that's kind of cool. They do that. Of course, they have the Looney Tunes characters dressed up in their best Halloween costumes, which is usually fun to see. Children under 12 are allowed to wear costumes. No adults though. So that's for daytime. Yeah.
I was planning on wearing a sexy nurse's outfit on the second, but oh well.
You'll just have to take pictures and share it with those who want to see it. Not me. Okay, let's move into, that's it. Where's the?
Oh, I've got. Do you want me to? I've got the full list of.
I think it's this link here.
You got it.
I think so. Can you not see that?
Yep, I can see it.
And then go into audio.
It might be kind of slow since it's all in HTML, but it's. You still there?
Yeah. Can you? I'm trying to get the. I just want a list. Here we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So Terror on Twisted Colossus, right? So this is just turning the lights out.
Yeah.
Twisted Colossus. Dining with the Dead. So this is not necessarily new, but it's
the Willoughby. Yeah.
So yeah, last year it was Fright Feast, and now it's called Dining with the Dead. I'm not sure if it's in the same location or not. Probably up there in the old Laughing Dragon.
I'm sure it is.
Pizza company, right? So that's an upcharge thing. Requires an additional fee. It's not bad though. I don't know what their entertainment's going to be in the last couple of years. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet, and then as you're enjoying your dinner. Michael Turco has come out and done a little kind of personalized magic act, which is always kind of fun. Always involves the audience. He gets people involved and does pretty cool tricks and sleight of hand right up close. And I don't know how I don't know how those guys do that, but I'm mesmerized every time trying to figure out how he does some of those tricks. But no word what the entertainment will be, if there is any. There's got to be something in there, I would imagine.
I'm sure there's something, yeah.
And they always have monsters kind of roaming through there too as you're eating, which is always kind of fun. Unleashed. So this is the new Quark, right? So Quark done scary, I think. It's
I guess. Yeah.
Do you know anything about that?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll find out on the 26th.
All I've heard about it is that they've taken Quark, and if you haven't seen Quark, it was a Cirque du Soleil-esque show in the Gearworks Theater, which is actually pretty good. I saw it multiple times, and I really enjoyed some of the acts they had in there. So they've taken that and they've made it a little bit scarier, and they've basically Fright Fested it. So that'll be fun to see. That also means that we could say goodbye to, was it Total Darkness? Is that what that was called?
Yeah.
Which I wasn't a big fan of. I just, it was just big air-filled walls that you kind of made your way through, and I didn't get too much out of that. I think other people really enjoyed it though. They were terrified of the dark. Chupacabra, we talked about that a little bit. I'm not sure why it says that requires an additional fee, maybe for the wristband.
Yeah, that's the maze. Yeah, that's the Fright Fest wristband. Yeah.
Okay, so going back just a little bit. So riding the coasters in the dark, no additional fee. If you're in the park for the day, you're entitled to do that. No additional fee involved. Dining with the Dead is an upcharge fee. The show is included with your park admission, so no fee on that. Any of the mazes that you want to go through will require a wristband that you have to buy. So that's why they requires an additional fee on there. The Aftermath is one of the most popular mazes, not just at Magic Mountain, but in all of Southern California. That's the big outdoor maze with overturned cars and helicopter and explosions and fire and all kinds of cool stuff. It's huge. Actually, it's set up in their outdoor theater. And it's been exclusively a dedicated Fright Fest maze for a few years now. I think this is the third or fourth year.
Oh no, it's probably been. So it's probably been 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's been a while actually.
Yeah, real popular maze. So if you're going to Fright Fest, definitely make sure you hit that maze.
Yeah, that was actually like the first Fright Fest maze to kind of take it up to that next level, where people started talking about them in the same. As like, oh, this is actually a good step. That was actually kind of the first maze to kind of bring them to that level. Yeah,
I think they bill it as the largest outdoor maze in Southern California.
And it's got fire.
Lots of fire. You feel the fire.
It makes everything better.
You jump when you're walking by and one of those flamethrowers goes off. You feel it. Okay, Willoughby's Resurrected. I'm assuming this is the mansion.
Yep.
This is also when they really started to get serious about Fright Fest and revamp some of their mazes.
That was 2012, I believe.
Yep. That's a really fun maze to go through. I enjoy that one. The Willoughby's Garden. So this was the Garden of Darkness before.
Yeah. So again, who knows if they've actually done something different in there this year? If it's the same, I mean, if they had done something, I would say if they've done something extra to it, they would have called it new. So I'm guessing they have it because they did the same thing with Toys of Terror last year, where they kind of we revamped it, but they called it new.
Right.
So I'm guessing Willoughby's is probably the same, or the garden is probably the same, or they would have said it was new. So
Yeah. So speaking of Toys of Terror 3D, a lot of people don't like this one. Personally, this is one of my favorite mazes, just because it's so bright and colorful. And for those of you not familiar with this one, it's mostly they call it 3D now because everything inside is painted with 3D paint. So you put your 3D glasses on and you go through it, and the walls are jumping out at you, the people are jumping out at you. It's a visual sensory overload as you're going through it. And then of course there's the tunnel you need to walk through, which is spinning.
right.
And that I can every time I can barely make it through that because of course you start leaning because you think the room's turning. Gets me every time. Red's Revenge. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, this was one of the new mazes last year. So again, this was kind of it was really one of the most talked about mazes from last year, I think, from any event in Southern California. It's Red Riding Hood, but just the effects and the way that they did it was really well done. A little bit of a pre-show room. That's kind of a hallmark for a lot of the Fright Fest mazes, where they've got the little pre-show thing. Really, really well done maze. I would expect it to be there for a while. And then Vault 666 was the other new one last year, and again, just really taking it up to that next level of interaction and theming and sets. And those are actually the two mazes that we're going to get walkthroughs of during our event on October 2nd. So if you'd like to see behind the scenes and stuff of those two mazes, that's one of our perks for that day. It's gonna. We did. I think they did the preview last year. We did get to walk through Vault 666, which was really cool. We didn't get a chance to do Red's Revenge last year, so I'm really looking forward to the walkthrough of that one, just to kind of see it. Basically what they'll do is they'll probably walk us through once with the lights on, and then they'll walk us through with show lighting. That's kind of how those things usually go. So you can kind of see it both ways, and then obviously during the evening, there won't be any monsters or anything in there during the day, but then in the evening, obviously, then you get a chance to kind of see it, Fright Fest mode.
But some of these, like Vault 66, for example, when you go through it, it's not just show lighting, but it's special effects as well, right? So they spend a lot of money on things that jump out at you, or boiling water, or squirting blood, so there's all kinds of special effects in there that they don't need actors for. So it's a pretty good maze just to walk through, even without any live talent in the maze. So they did a really good job on that. And then Red's Revenge, like Greg said, was brand new last year, but it's the first time, if I remember the presentation correctly, it's the first time they've ever built a dedicated building for a Fright Fest maze. And it definitely paid off in spades because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it was basically designed specifically for Fright Fest mazes. So, Vault 666 is kind of using the back of the arcade where the Full Throttle, store is. The other ones were using existing warehouses that were for stuffed animals and stuff. Willoughby's Haunted Mansion was the old Magic Pagoda. The garden was the station for the Eagles Flight. So yeah, this was definitely again, this was made specifically for mazes, which obviously is a huge investment for them.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Voodoo Nights. This is actually not a maze. This is their entertainment on the Full Throttle stage.
Full Throttle,
Voodoo Nights stage, I guess they call it during Fright Fest season. But this is the big stage you see set up outside of the Full Throttle area in the Full Throttle Plaza. So Ricky Rock's Drums is back this year along with DJ Nell. Those guys are a really good combination. They'll also have their house band back. I don't think they go by Velocity during Fright Fest. Don't they have another name they use?
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, but whatever the name of their house band is, so they'll be out playing music as well and dancing, the Voodoo Nights dancers. So that's the big show every night in the Full Throttle Plaza. The Wastelands is it's a scare zone, right?
Yeah, that's for Aftermath. Yeah,
outside of Aftermath, in front of Riddler's Revenge, and that whole plaza there is the Wasteland. So this is where you'll find the sliders and those type of scare actors. Hypnotist is back. This is something they tend to do every year. I'm not sure who they're going to have as the hypnotist this year. For the last few years, it's kind of been split between two people. A woman, I can't remember her name now.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is now.
I don't remember either one of their names actually. I should have looked that up, but I can't. Susie Hayner was her name.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I've been to many of her shows. She is hilarious. I was very skeptical about hypnotism. It's something that I don't really buy into, and I don't see how it works. It doesn't seem real to me. It's almost like wrestling. Is to a lot of people, right? It's so fake. But I actually went to one of the shows, and it was very entertaining. And I can't see how it's not. There's got to be something there, right? Because you can't get that many people.
Yeah.
To go along with what she's trying to do, and you'll see that she'll definitely pull people off the stage and send them back to their seat if she knows that they're not under. So very entertaining show. The guy that they have do that every now and then is good as well. So looking forward to see who they get in there this year. Exile Hill. This is another scare zone.
That's up by Willoughby's.
Willoughby's. Okay, so this is up on Samurai Summit.
Yeah.
Yep. They usually do a pretty good job up there with the fog. They get a lot of fog, and it tends to hang around up there. So it's kind of cool. Sinister Circuit. So this is the revamp of what was known as City Under Siege in the DC Universe area. So this is all the scary clowns and all that. And I think this year the theme is they've been released from a mental institute, right? And they're all kind of roaming the
something
streets.
like that,
yeah. So I think the only change that I'm aware of to that theme in that area is the addition of the lights. All those lights that they put up for Holiday in the Park last year, they're going to repurpose for Fright Fest this year. So it'll be entertaining to see how they combine the lighting with the actors, the scare actors. Because like with Holiday in the Park, right, it's just music that plays, choreographed to the lights are choreographed to the music. So I don't know if they're going to try doing something like that in here. If all of a sudden all the scare actors break out into dance or what's going to happen. But
yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be fun to see, definitely. Zombie Crossing. This is another scare zone as you walk between basically the Golden Bear Theater area and Goliath.
Yeah, pretty much.
Zombie Crossing. Not a whole lot in there. It's a real small area. It's basically just on the midway. Heavy fog. You kind of walk through a collection of scare actors. Territory Twisted. So this is the brand new scare zone, which is obviously everything down by Twisted Colossus and Scream. So I don't know anything about this area or what to expect down there.
It'll be interesting.
We'll find out together. Demon's Door. I think this was new last year, if I'm not mistaken. This is the
this is the front of the park. Yeah, this is the front of the park, the entrance to the old, which is kind of interesting because most people are already in the park. So it's to kind of have a front of the park scare zone. It's kind of a lot of people just only see it when they leave. So it's kind of some people do come in for Fright Fest, but a lot of people are there during the day. So it's definitely if you want to get the full experience, you've got to exit and then go back in or something to get the full opening scare zone.
And there's a full backstory in this area too, if I remember right, like the Demon Queen or something like that, or her minions and all that. I still haven't quite understood the story there, but there's definitely a full story behind it. Nightmares. This doesn't sound familiar.
That's the one by Revolution, between Revolution and Roaring Rapids, which is kind of the black light scare zone, which is actually a really cool concept, I think. And last year was definitely better. So it'll be interesting to see how they pull that off this year.
Was it called Nightmares before?
I think it was.
I thought it was something on the hill, or
maybe it was something. I don't remember. No, because the Hillbilly Hill was up by Revolution. That was just that area.
Okay.
That was only 1 year because I think it's just too bright in that area to have a scare zone.
Yeah. No, I love the blacklight though. Some of the costumes and the makeup just really pop. All the fog that they pump in there, you're walking through, and then all of a sudden one of those jump out at you. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Catch you off guard. Okay, so a lot of rides in the dark, more so I think than they've had in past. So Terror on Batman the ride, right? So they're turning out the lights on Batman. Goliath in the dark, same thing, lights out on that. Terror on Apocalypse, lights out. Which
Apocalypse is pretty much, just riding Apocalypse. That's pretty much a terror at this point.
It is, yeah. So make sure you take your mouth guard if you're going to ride Apocalypse because it chatters a lot these days. Full Throttle Fears, Tatsu in the Dark. I think it's interesting they came up with all these backstories and special
Mhm.
names and stuff, and all they're doing is turning the lights out on these rides.
Right.
Tricks on the Riddler's Revenge, Viper at Night, and then last but not least, X2 Satan's Domain. I think that's a new name too for that one.
That's a new name. So yeah, before it was an alien theme, so now it's Satan's Domain. So it'll probably be a different onboard audio and different, show on the screen. But other than that, I can't think of anything else that it's X2.
Yep. Okay.
So that actually brings us to another question by Chris, which is actually a really good one. Would you guys ever like to see Fright Fest as a separate ticket event like Halloween Horror Nights or Scary Farm? Or would you feel Fright Fest may never reach that level of hype? I'm going to be honest. I don't think that Fright Fest will ever be at that level to where they can. I'm sure that's probably something that they want. I don't feel that ever being something that can be that level. There's so much oversaturation in the Southern California market already, not just with the 3 major theme parks, but then you've got Queen Mary, you've got all of the other independent haunts that just start kind of later in the month. So I don't think that Fright, and part of me thinks that maybe they want to be at that level, but then I think they like being the only park that doesn't shut down before Fright Fest starts. So I kind of I don't think it's going to ever be a separate ticket event, but who knows? But at this point, I don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be either. I don't think that it's a matter that it couldn't be. I think if they wanted to invest the time, the money, and the effort to make it a separate ticket event, they certainly could. And I think they could build it up and do the exact same thing that like Not Scary Farm does. But it take a serious commitment, not to mention financial investment. And I just don't see Six Flags doing that.
And I'm trying to remember, and maybe somebody else that's on can let us know in the comments in the Q&A. I think Scary Farm, when it started, I don't think it was a separate ticket event either for the first few years. I mean, obviously Fright Fest has been more than just a few years, but I want to say that it wasn't like at least the first couple of years, or if it was obviously very cheap because it started in, 72. So just real quick, I've got it up, the other Fright Fest events. We're not gonna go through all of them. Just point out some new stuff at some of the parks. So Discovery Kingdom, they've got a new Carnival maze, which is obviously something circus themed. Fiesta Texas has got a Slaughterhouse 6, which is new, and a Nightmares maze, which is new, which again, I don't know what those are all about. Six Flags Over Texas doesn't look like they've got anything new this year. And it's funny, the Six Flags Over Texas site actually had their mazes and scare zones together. It didn't say any kind of separate cost for the mazes, which I don't think is accurate, but it might be. Six Flags St. Louis has got a couple of new mazes, Wreckers Salvage and Camp Killamore. Great America doesn't have anything new this year, it didn't look like. Great Adventure has got a couple of new ones, Demon's District, Big Top Terror, and Bloodshed. And they're actually having their media nights. It's not this weekend. It's the weekend at the 26th, I think. And so Chris will be there for that. So we'll actually have some coverage of that on our site. And then the one that was actually kind of interesting was Six Flags Over Georgia. They have a new maze, which is Dr. Fright's Frightorium 3D. But they actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 new scare zones. So I don't know. Yeah. Which is crazy. So they have the City of Zombies, which is the Gotham, which was the only existing one. So I'm thinking they kind of are doing what Magic Mountain did a few years ago, where basically the entire park is one big scare zone, and maybe they're not that big, kind of like the Nightmares or the Zombie Crossing. But yeah, each area is like, one's a Southern Cemetery, which obviously will probably be toward in the back of the park, where the Cotton something or other is. So that I thought that was kind of interesting.
You know what this could be. This goes back to the previous question that was just asked, as far as would we ever see it as a separate event? Six Flags has really gotten into the last few years sharing the wealth, right, and spreading the money around to every park. Everybody gets something new every year, but the big money goes to a different park every year, right? So they're kind of building up their entire chain a little bit at a time by doing that. They could very well be doing the same thing with Fright Fest and possibly even Holiday in the Park, where every year the chunk of the money for that particular event goes to a different park, trying to build it up. Last year, obviously Magic Mountain got a huge infusion of cash to do what they did. Maybe this year it's was it Great America, you said, or
it was Georgia? It was Georgia.
Six Flags Over Georgia. So it could be their year, right? So this is they're building up their huge Fright Fest this year, and then next year they may not see anything.
Right.
A very small change as well. Another park gets a big Fright Fest infusion of cash. So that it very well could be what they're doing, which
definitely.
Business perspective, pretty smart.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in there. So while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to let you guys know on I think most of our fans are in Southern California, so there are some other events going on. So Friday is actually the opening night for Halloween Horror Nights. I will be there. So kind of excited about this year. It's some Halloween maze I'm very excited about. Crimson Peak, this is the End Maze, which is kind of a different take on stuff there, is kind of cool. And then next week, I think Thursday is media night for Not Scary Farm, and I think Kurt, you'll be there as well.
Yep,
if I'm not mistaken.
Thursday.
So obviously, I think Knott's is still the premier event. We've actually got our Not Scary Farm passes this year, so we'll actually be going a couple of times.
Nice.
So we'll have some good coverage. And actually, I got a message from Matt regarding the statement about the first year of Not Scary Farm. According to the 1973 ticket on the wall in their living room, Haunt was a separate event from the get-go. So so Knott's has always been a separate ticket event. So kind of cool. So thanks for that, Matt. Appreciate that.
Those must have been some pretty lean years, those first couple of years of doing it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
People bought into that.
Yeah. But I mean, they had like Wolfman Jack and stuff the first. I don't know if it was the first year, but within very early on, and he was very popular, and things like that. So let's take a couple minutes and we'll talk about Mountain Madness.
Yes, let's do that.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I did here. I think when I got out of that screen share, I think it's just stuck on your video. I'm not sure if people are seeing me when I talk or not.
Oh.
But yeah, go ahead and share your.
All right.
Go ahead and share your.
There it is. All right. Let me know if you can see it.
It's up.
All right. So Mountain Madness coming on October 2nd. So again, our event it's on a Friday because it's Fright Fest, and Saturdays for Fright Fest are crazy busy. So we understand, school and work and stuff. But we've tried to do stuff, where it's mostly in the afternoon and evening. So if you want to take a half day or whatever. But it does start at 8:30. That is 2 hours of ERT on Twisted Colossus and Scream. And then parking is free until I believe 9. So I'll get that when we scroll down. General admission $80. Pass holder admission is $70, and the tickets are actually available on the Six Flags website. You use promotion code Mountain Madness. So either Kurt or I or Rob from Metro Atlanta Coaster Club, none of us are making any money off this. This is just basically we wanted to do this for you guys, so you don't have to worry about any of that. I don't know why I've got this ad up here. I am not trying to find Russians on my Google ads.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Don't know why that popped up. Anyway, what's included is all day and night event, including 2 hours of ERT on Twisted Colossus and Scream, maze tours, a group dinner in one of the picnic areas, Fright Fest wristbands, which are the gold wristbands, which are the front of the line. And this year they're going to be $35. So $35 of that $70 or $80 is just the wristbands. And the
if
food.
You guys
I think
have never experienced the mazes with the front of the line wristband, you're missing out because the lines can be really long, especially on the popular mazes. Yeah. That wristband, man, you literally go right to the front. And within a couple of minutes, you're in the maze.
Even that.
A lot of times it's you just walk right in.
Yeah. So we are working on some surprises. Obviously, ticket sales will be contingent on what we can get as far as that's concerned and how soon we can reserve that stuff. So if you're waiting to get that ticket, don't wait too much longer. That way we can work on getting all the other surprises that we hopefully can have that day. So again, as I mentioned, with the exception of morning ERT, all the events will be in the afternoon and evening. So if you can't come for the ERT in the morning, you're going to miss out some rides on Twisted Colossus and Scream. But this Friday is typically a very slow Friday for Fright Fest. I think last year we were there on this date, Kurt, and we walked on X2 at like 9 o'clock, and we waited maybe like 3 minutes for X2.
Yeah.
So I mean, the maze lines can get long. I mean, because it's such low capacity, but the ride lines have been traditionally really low on that night. So if you have the front of the line maze passes, you don't have to worry about the ride lines. They'll be pretty good. So again, morning ERT at between 8:30 and 10. No breakfast is provided, so lots of Starbucks or Wendy's or anything is in the area. Maze tours will be available throughout the day. So if you cannot come until the afternoon, let us know so we can make sure that we get you in one of the afternoon tours. And again, we'll be releasing those times and stuff as the event gets closer on all three of the websites as far as the times for the tour and stuff like that. So you can plan your day around any of that stuff. As I mentioned, we will be walking through Vault 66 and Red's Revenge. Dinner will be at 5:30. So it's basically just before Fright Fest. So we have the picnic area for 90 minutes. So we'll have lasagna, burgers, side dishes, and then basically at the dinner you'll get your wristbands for Fright Fest. And then obviously, hopefully, we'll have some other surprises at the dinner and things like that. As we go forward. And then Fright Fest starts at 7. Your Gold Fright Fest passes give you unlimited access to all of the mazes until the event closes at 1. Again, it does not include Fright Fest Flash Pass, to the rides, but you shouldn't need it at all. And then obviously we're going to have some surprises throughout the day that will be announced as the event gets closer. And again, as I mentioned, that is all contingent on ticket sales. The more tickets we've sold, the more surprises we will be able to get from the park. So if you're waiting, don't wait. Get your tickets.
I've been hearing from a lot of people that missed out on the West Coast Bash this past weekend. So if you missed out on that, here's your opportunity to attend a similar event with Fright Fest added in as an additional bonus.
And all of our tours, they're open to everybody. There's no raffle or anything like that. It's open for everybody.
Everybody gets in.
Yep. Oh, good question from Luis. So as you guys talk with other parks in Los Angeles, what do you guys think Magic Mountain is going to do in the future in order to keep their fans happy? And also, do you guys know where the map is for this year? I can't find it on the site. Map for Magic Mountain for this year? It should be on their website. If you want to
talking about the Fright Fest map.
Oh, the Fright Fest map. I haven't seen that yet, Luis, but it's probably pretty similar to last year's map, except for the scare zones. But yeah, if you're not going to make it to Fright Fest, Luis, let one of us know, and we can drop one in the mail for you. But as far as what we're going to Magic Mountain's going to do in the future to keep their fans happy, it's funny. With Magic Mountain, and it's an interesting conversation that we were having on the California Coaster Kings Facebook page earlier today was about Goliath and how I think Magic Mountain fans are kind of jaded. When you look at a ride like Goliath or you look at a ride like Scream, if those two rides were at any other park, pretty much they would be, everybody would love them. Scream would be the most. If Scream was at, say, Six Flags St. Louis or Six Flags America, even, it would be one of the most popular rides at that park. And you go to Magic Mountain on a busy day and you can walk on Scream. So I think Magic Mountain fans are kind of jaded in that regard. That being said, I think once New Revolution is open, it's going to be 3 years since they've added a brand new roller coaster, right? If I'm doing my math correctly, and really 4 years, or will that be 5 years since Full Throttle?
No, full. They do it. They've been doing it every 2 years, right? So 2013 was Full Throttle. Actually,
Okay.
2014,
Do the
technically 2014 was a new roller coaster. They added Speedy Gonzales Hot Rod Racers.
Yeah.
It is a
But I
coaster.
mean, but wasn't Lex Luthor in between Full Throttle? Was it Full
That,
Throttle in 12 and
that was
Lex Luthor in 13?
no 2011 was Green Lantern. 2012 was Lex Luthor.
Okay, I
2013
got the
was Full
years mixed up.
Throttle.
Okay. Okay.
2014 was Speedy Gonzales and the Bugs Bunny World
Gonzalez,
Makeover.
Colossus.
2015 Twisted Colossus.
Okay, and
So
then
2006.
so
So they're
I
actually,
mean,
I mean, they're
basically it'll be 4 years since. I mean, Twisted Colossus, yes, is a brand new coaster, but it's replacing Colossus. So so it's going to really be everyone keeps thinking, are they going to bring in Justice League in 2017?
right.
I don't see that. I see it happening eventually, and it would be a great fit for the park, I think. But I see a big coaster coming before Justice League, maybe the year after. I don't know if it'll be if it's going to be like a Wing Rider or a dive machine. I would love to see something like Fury 325. I think a huge B&M Hyper like behind like over Roaring Rapids and by Apocalypse would be amazing. So I would prefer to something like that versus a wing. Even though I love X-Flight at Great America, I would prefer a Hyper over a Wing Rider. But we'll see. But yeah, they're the thrill capital of the world, so they're definitely gonna step it up.
It's got to be bigger and faster and taller and all of that, right, than the previous
Pretty
ride.
much, yep.
And they are on the
Yep.
2-year cadence right now, right? So every 2 years they've been getting something major new.
Right.
So I predict.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Twisted
prediction-
Colossus was major,
No, my prediction is 2017 will be another major brand new coaster. It'll be the 20th, right? So that'll be a big
Right.
deal. And they're going to completely revamp the Cyclone Bay area. It's going to go back there somewhere.
Yeah. Right. It's going to be a 20 inversion coaster for their 20th coaster.
No. I will not be right. I like inversions if they're done right. But inversions just for the sake of inversions. I'm done with inversions. I'm getting old. You kids get off the lawn, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Speaking of inversions, somebody's daring me to ride the slingshot with them on the event. So I told them to bring another change of shirt. Scott asks, how did we hook up with the Coaster Club in Atlanta? That's actually a really good question. Rob's actually a really good friend of RD, who is one of the site partners for Park Journey. And he writes some opinion pieces and support and everything. So they've been friends for a while. And actually, Kurt and I are both friends with Rob now. And basically, they were already doing a West Coast trip this October. And so they were wanting to do something, with us while they were out here. And Kurt and I had been talking about doing an event since I started Park Journey, because we knew each other before. I mean, when I was still writing for Mice Chat, we knew each other even then. And then when I started this, it was kind of, almost instantly we started talking about, hey, we should do an event. And so it just kind of worked out. We figured we had, I think it was like 10 to 15 people from Metro Atlanta Coaster Club that were going to be out. So that was kind of like a solid number of people that were already here. So but then we started working with Rob, and they're just really, really good guys, really, really good to work with, and just fun to talk to and be around. So yeah, it's kind of an odd thing, but now we're kind of bi-coastal, and so who knows what else can happen in the future.
Yeah, so here's the benefit, Scott, is because it's bi-coastal, right? So if he's helping us with this event. If it's a success, then next year we get to do it over there, right? We'll try and do something with Six Flags over Georgia, or something on the East Coast. We'll reciprocate, and we'll have to go that way to support them.
Definitely.
But before we talk about future events, we need to make sure this one's a success. So
yes.
please, everybody go out and buy their tickets to Mountain Madness and help support us. Make sure this event's successful, so that we can keep doing this and having additional events in the future for you guys. Because obviously we're not doing it for money or anything like that. We do it because we love coasters and we love hanging out with you guys, and we always have a good time when we all get together. So let's all get together and have a great time, and make sure that we get to continue doing it well into the future.
Yeah, because I was now. Yeah. Please. Because I was doing Periscope at the park, not yesterday. I think the week before, And somebody was kind of asking, you know, are we going to do another event? You know, next, are we going to have, you know, Mountain Madness again next year? And I said, you know, let's get through this one. But then someone said, you should do Mountain Madness 2, Revolution Radness. I'm like, that's actually a cool name, and I'm going to steal it. But again, we got to make sure, we want the park's been really good to work with. I mean, you know, we've got a good relationship with the park, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, can you deliver the people that you promised? And if we can't, then, you know, this might be the first and last, but we're hoping it's not. So they've been really good with working with us, all events start small, and then, you know, again, there's other events out there that, you know, are, you know, more annual events, and, you know, the timing, you know, it's on a Friday. So, you know, all that stuff kind of comes into it. But if we can pull this off, then the future is looking pretty good for more fun stuff.
There's a reason that first events aren't called, you know, first annual or Mountain Madness
Right.
1 or Battle of Bull Run 1, right? Because you never know, there's going to be another one.
If you're coming, you know. So yeah, but we've got a great day planned. We're talking about doing, we've talked about, I think in the last chat we talked about, you know, we should meet at like 10 o'clock at night and take over Gold Rusher, you know, which is like, you know, it's just a fun ride, and to ride it with a group of enthusiasts and just, you know, hooting and hollering through the whole thing. It's you know, it's not the fastest, you know, but it's just a fun ride. And, you know, we've done it before with other events, and it's always just a fun thing. So, you know, we're talking about putting kind of stuff like that, you know, into the day, you know, if people want to come and just ride stuff. And that's really what it's all about, hanging out and having fun and riding stuff.
Yep, exactly. I know you guys got more questions than that. I don't see any questions in there. Don't forget, you click on the little squares in the top right corner. Click on the Q&A button, and you should have a panel pop up so you can type in questions.
Let me see if I've got anything else popped up on Twitter or Facebook. I don't see anything.
So we talked a little bit about, well, not a little bit, we talked a lot about Fright Fest at Magic Mountain. We went through the various Fright Fest events at the other parks. We talked about Mountain Madness. Go buy your tickets. What else we got? So after the kind of looking forward, you know, we need to get through Fright Fest first. Hasn't even started yet. But then Holiday in the Park, right? That's going to be that's something new, at least new to Magic Mountain, that they're going to keep making bigger and better every year. So personally, I'm glad to see the park making these investments.
Speaking of not Mountain Madness, wow. Speaking of Holiday in the Park, within the next, maybe tomorrow, maybe today's Monday, isn't it? Maybe Wednesday. Chris actually went, who does stuff for our site too. He actually went to Great Adventure yesterday, and they kind of had a little Holiday in the Park preview type center already, which is kind of odd. But they're actually, this year, their Holiday in the Park is like blowing up. Basically, their Skull Mountain is going to be covered in lights, which is like, I mean, that's a huge building. If you've ever seen it, that's a huge show building.
It is.
So it's gonna be covered in lights, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that they're gonna be doing. And I don't know if can I share a picture?
Should be able to. If it's on your screen, you can share it.
Oh, it's not on my screen, but I can pull it up.
Real quick, while you're pulling that up, Fat Mike 371's asking, "Hello, can you see me? No, we can't see you, but we can see your question."
You can see your question.
So however you posted that, you're free to post whatever you want, and we'll see your question there.
Let me pull that up there.
I think the picture looked like, if I'm not mistaken, I think he goes by Dr. Bacon on Twitter, or one of the social medias. I think I see him on. Maybe I might be mistaken.
So here's the picture of the Skull Mountain. So I mean, again, this is just concept art, but I mean, that's a lot of lights. So I don't know if they're going to do anything on the inside. And it's funny because Chris is actually the one that commented on this too. So I don't know if they're going to do anything on the inside. But basically, what Chris did yesterday is he started doing some comparison pictures from the artwork that they had, and then what the park looks like. So we'll be able to see kind of where everything is going. So again, that should be up in the next couple of days. But so, you know, even though we're kind of into Fright Fest mode right now. Holiday in the Park is not that far away, really. So the fact that they're actually having a preview center for Holiday in the Park is actually pretty impressive.
Do we know if all of those lights are the little LED lights like they've been using?
I'm sure they are.
Okay. If it's just regular red lights just draped over that, I mean, I hate to say it, but it kind of looks gaudy. But if
I would guess that they're probably LEDs, and then
if it's LED and programmable, then that's huge, right?
Yeah.
They can have. I mean, it's basically a video screen at that point. They can have it say or do whatever they want.
Yeah. Looks like Luis had another question, and I think Kurt's probably better tuned to this one, but I'll read it.
What are they going to do?
Exactly. What are they doing to Revolution? It's just they've been vague on what they're going to do. Remake the whole ride, or are they just going to refurbish what is already there? What would you like? What would you like to be done to the ride? Well, I mean, the track is they're not doing anything. I mean, the track is going to be painted. They'll be replacing bolts, and they'll be refurbing the track. So the tracks, they're not ripping out the track and redoing the entire track. But the trains are going to be brand new.
It's amazing to me how many people heard that they're redoing Revolution and they got excited because they thought they were going to reconfigure the track layout, right? It's going to be totally different, all that. No, you're talking a brand new coaster at that point, right? You can't take a custom built coaster. You can't take any coaster, custom built or not, and then reconfigure it easily, right? It's not worth the investment. It costs more than building a brand new coaster.
I think the only one that you could really do, the only coaster you could really do is probably Full Throttle, because they could just make the other half of the ride that they didn't build when they built it.
But still, at that point, you're basically building a brand new roller coaster. You're just attaching it to an existing roller coaster.
Right.
But yeah, they could totally extend Full Throttle, but reconfiguring it's totally different than extending it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the track will be the same. Again, the trains will be totally brand new. But they are using basically the original blueprints, the original specs of the original trains. So they're not using Gerstlauer for obvious reasons. I don't think they'll be working with Gerstlauer on trains anytime soon. So yeah, which is what they did at Hershey Park, which Super Duper Loop was great.
Would be comfortable riding them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and as far as I think somebody had said over the weekend that Tim Burkhart had said that the strobe lights aren't coming back to the tunnel. I don't know.
But honestly,
special effects. So
I would be very surprised if they don't do something in that tunnel. That's an awesome tunnel, right? You don't see a lot of tunnels like that anymore on rides.
No.
It's just too costly for parks to put in. But the fact that it's already there, and it's a pretty lengthy tunnel, and because of the curve, it's pretty dark, when you first go in it until you go around. I would expect fog, if they line the inside with LED lights, do something to it, right? Make it spectacular. And the park did say that there are some special things that they're going to do to it that they haven't announced yet, right? They need to see, they need to save something for the big reveal.
Right.
So did you hit everything? I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you. You were talking. So you talked about the track, the trains, and for those that don't know, let's just elaborate on that for a minute, right? So the trains, what they're doing, if you haven't heard already, is they're taking the original blueprints, like Greg said, and they're having a local manufacturer make all new parts. So rather than going out and buying a train from somebody, they're having somebody make basically replacement parts, but every replacement part, and then they just bolt them all back together, and they have a brand new train from the ground up, right? So they're doing that. I think it hasn't been confirmed yet, but it sounded like they were leaning towards 3 trains total. Whether or not they'd run all 3 trains remains to be seen. Typical Magic Mountain, they would run 2 and keep 1 in reserve so they can swap them out for refurbishment. But I would hope that they would run all 3 of them, at least initially, to keep the crowds down. That track, that roller coaster initially had is capable of running 5 trains simultaneously. Nowadays, if they go back to a lap belt, you could probably get away with getting them out dispatched in time. But lap belt with seat belt, I highly doubt it. Right? We've kind of seen slow dispatch times with those. So I would expect it to run either 2 or 3 trains when it opens.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've got that.
Talk about the rest of Full Throttle or Revolution.
Yeah, I think that's
station makeover.
Yeah.
That'll get refreshed.
Yeah, they're going to paint it, obviously. I think it's going to be like white track with, is it light blue supports? Kind of what it looks like. And then obviously the trains will be I don't know if they're gonna look from the artwork. It looked like red, white, and blue with stars. So kind of going back to that Great American Revolution type thing.
Yep. Definitely patriotic. The big silver eagle on the hood, right? That's new.
Right.
And then also, they didn't specifically say in any of the press materials that we got, but if you look at the artwork, obviously they have lighting around the loop. So hopefully,
Which was there originally.
That was original.
Yeah, which was there originally. Yeah.
So that'd be cool if they would do that.
Yeah. And then
as long as it's not rope lighting, right? I would hate it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but the original lighting, it kind of looked like rope lighting. The original lighting.
I don't care what the original looked like. In this day and age, you do not put rope lighting on a ride.
You never got to ride the original, so you don't know what you're talking about there.
There are far superior lights you can put on track these days. You don't need to use rope lighting.
You know what? The lights are the least of my concern.
It's a little thing. It doesn't really affect the ride, but it's tacky looking, right? You spend that kind of money trying to refurbish a ride. You don't wrap rope lighting around it.
So it looks like Coaster Lover Tim said no strobes cause some seizures. Huh. Yeah, and then the brakes obviously are staying because, again, they don't need to go to the magnetic brakes because Gerstlauer's not doing the trains, and if they're going with the original specs, then obviously they can keep the brakes there. That are already there. Now, as far as the block brakes engaging like they do now with those heavy trains, you basically coming to a stop right before the loop. I don't think that's going to happen because it didn't used to happen with the original trains. So the trains are definitely going to be lighter, so it will have less stress on the actual structure itself, and then obviously the loop. Being what it is, again, less weight on the trains as less stress on the loop as well. So hopefully we'll be able to not have to stop completely, before going to the loop. So yeah, I not surprising that the brakes are staying.
Did they used to have heavy braking right before the loop run?
No, again, it's been 20 years. Or more, 22 years, something like that, whatever it is. So it's been a while. I'd have to look back on like the old, some of the old videos and stuff that are out there, but I don't think so. If RD's on, I'm not sure if he is or not. I can't see the attendee list. He would know. Maybe Matt would know. But yeah, I don't remember it stopping a lot before the loop. At least not as much as it does or did as of a week ago.
Yeah. Good. That'll be good to see if it doesn't slow down.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's again, for those of you that didn't get to ride it originally, you're going to be in for a treat because it's, at least for me, it's definitely going to be back in the top 5 coasters at Magic Mountain for me. I know a lot of people won't feel that way, but it's it's just a fun ride. I'm looking forward to getting lots and lots and lots and lots of rides on it next year.
Yeah, me too. And one thing I'll throw out there, nobody specifically asked about it, but I've been getting a lot of questions about it through various channels. People keep saying, they keep asking, are they going to paint Tatsu at the same time because it's the 10-year anniversary? I would not expect that at all. I know they have a very limited budget this year. I think most of that money is going into revitalizing Revolution. So I would not anticipate a Tatsu paint job this year.
Yeah, I was getting the same question as well. And yeah, it would be nice. It obviously needs it. And if they're going to be working on Revolution and painting Revolution, it would be nice to see them, not paint Tatsu like in 2 to 3 years and get orange and red paint all over Revolution. But I don't see the budget being there. I wish it was. To be honest, I was actually kind of surprised that they didn't throw in a dark ride, or not a dark ride, a flat ride this year, next year with Magic Mountain, because again, but it's a limited. It's an off year for it's an off year for Magic Mountain. If you can say a classic ride that the people have been asking to be returned for years and years and years. So anyway.
Yeah. One final question that just popped up. It says, what he had said about the brakes is people came back with whiplash or something like that. So that was the reasoning they were staying. The brakes don't bother me much anyway. Yeah, the brakes aren't that old. I think they just completely replaced them just a couple years ago, didn't they?
Yeah. And it wasn't, yeah, and the whiplash had more to do with the trains because there was no head, there was no head restraint, or not head restraint, but there was no padding. Like it just went to basically like the middle. Like if like right now, if it was me, it would have gone to like the middle of my back or like my shoulder. So there was no pad in the back for your head. So when you went through that loop, your head just kind of went like this. So obviously that'll be something different. There'll definitely be something for you to set your head back on that. So that was kind of the issue with that. So I don't know if it was the brakes per se, as far as, but it was more of just the motion going through the loop with nothing to put your head on.
Right. Yeah, and that was kind of along those lines for those that didn't know. Whenever they ran the Colossus trains backwards at Fright Fest in the past, they always switched out to the old B&M wooden trains, from Cyclone. And the reason for that, if you weren't aware, is that the Cyclone trains had that headrest, right? So if people were going backwards down the thing, their head wouldn't get snapped back. That's why they couldn't run the Morgan trains, because there was no headrest. And if you look at the concept art for the new Revolution, you should see a headrest back there. I've actually seen the fiberglass molds that they're using, and there is it comes up and supports the back of your head. Even though there's no over-the-shoulder restraint, you still have that headrest back there. So
you have a headrest there, yeah.
Snap back. Yeah, totally. Hey, we're starting to go a little bit.
Yep.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, go ahead. Nope, I'm good.
I was going to say we're starting to go a little bit long here, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Last thing in here, anyway. Can't wait. It's a great ride. Definitely top 5 for me as well. I think a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of Revolution. For many, many, many people our age, especially, this is the first big coaster they ever rode. I wasn't in Southern California when I was growing up, so unfortunately, I've never ridden it without the OTSR. So I'm especially excited to ride it without them, to experience what everyone has been telling me is a phenomenal ride.
Yeah, it was my first looping coaster, obviously. It wasn't my first upside down coaster. My first upside down coaster was Corkscrew at Knott's. Yep. But my first it was shortly after, in the early 80s, I think it was. So I'm definitely, and again, I've been a season pass holder to Magic Mountain since about 1985, 86. And I'm definitely looking forward to not only riding it again myself, but again, my kids are a little bit older now, and like you, they never got to ride it the way that was intended. So I'm actually excited for them to actually be able to ride it, and actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Scott C., thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Everyone else, thank you for viewing. We enjoy doing this, and we're just kind of chatting and taking your questions. So we appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. If you want to experience Fright Fest with us, front of the line pass, please go buy your ticket to Mountain Madness now. We would certainly appreciate it. We look forward to seeing and meeting all of you in person and hanging out with you for the day. It should be a really fun event. So looking forward to it. Any closing comments from you, Greg?
No, I'm good. Thanks you guys for all the support, not just for the event, but for everything else. I know we both greatly appreciate it. And we're just going to keep having fun. So we'll see you guys on October 2nd. We'll keep doing what we do. So parkjourney.com and thecoasterguy.com. We'll see you guys on the tracks. Take care. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.